Hi guys, this is Brianna, the Royalty Liaison for Christian Miss, a nationwide pageant system that equips young women with tools to impact generations for Christ. For this week's weekly devotions, we'll hear from one of our national queens on the topics of forgiveness and righting wrongs. Enjoy the message.
Hey guys, it's Heidi, your National Christian Miss Queen. This week we are talking about forgiveness. I wasn't quite sure exactly where to go with it this week, but I pulled out my Bible and I looked at the cover, and I got this new Bible recently because every once in a while I just like to buy a new Bible. It kind of helps motivate me to stay in scripture. And the front of it says, "Remain in my love." It's John chapter 15, verse 9. And whenever I think about forgive, so we'll get to why I pointed that out in a minute, but whenever I think about forgiveness, the Bible character that I always go back to is David. David was called a man after God's own heart, which I always found so interesting because there were an entire laundry list of things that David did that were not according to the way of the Lord. We'll just say if they were made into a movie, it probably wouldn't be the most appropriate movie to watch. But despite all of that, David still, every time he did something, he came back to God. I mean, you read some of the Psalms that he wrote, and you just go through and you see how even though he made mistakes, he always took responsibility for them and came back to God, and God still called him a man after his own heart, which is the perfect, I think, illustration of forgiveness. So now that brings me to John chapter 15, verse 9, where he says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love." Now, shortly before that, this is the verse that talks about you are the vine and I am the vine and the branches. Where Jesus says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples." I think it's so interesting because when you're talking about gardening, if a branch isn't producing fruit, they cut it off. It's not doing anything. It just gets cut off. But if it is bearing fruit, it gets pruned, it gets trimmed, it gets cared for, just so that it will become even more fruitful. So when I was looking at it with the verse looking at it with David, God was constantly pruning David. He never completely cut him off because David remained in the love of the Lord. He remained in his presence and still poured his heart out to him and asked the hard questions and didn't challenge God's will, but asked God, "Why do you want me to experience this?" And he learned so many lessons through that. The verse 9 says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love." It doesn't say remain in my love only if you do this, or you can only be here if you're perfect. It doesn't say any of that. It just asks us to remain in his love so that he can continue to prune us and continue to care for us and continue to help us grow into the people that we were made to be. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next time.